Hi everybody, welcome back to Sunshine Soap and Candle Company. Today I'm going to be sharing with you how to make a feminine wash, also known as a Yoni cleansing gel. This cleanser is formulated to wash feminine, intimate areas, although it's very gentle and you can use it on your whole body if you like. Making them yourself has really grown in popularity over the last several years. Several months back, I shared my first Yoni cleansing gel video and tutorial, and it was very well received. If you haven't seen it, I hope that you'll go check it out. I talk a lot about why I didn't jump on the trend sooner, and we talk a lot about pH and why it's super important in this type of cleansing gel, and lots of other important things to know about Yoni soaps, Yoni cleansing gels, and things like that. In this video today, I'm going to be showing you a step-by-step visual tutorial and process of how to put together this beautiful Yoni cleansing gel, along with tips and tricks along the way. And if you want the full written recipe and detailed written tutorial along with percentages, please head on over to my Patreon campaign where you can unlock this recipe for just a $5 pledge. That same $5 pledge gains you access to 3 years of archived recipes I post weekly, and there is also the other Yoni cleansing gel recipe for you to take advantage of, all for the same $5 pledge. There really is a ton to take advantage of over there. It's a great way to connect with me. It's a great way to connect with other makers. I'm going to go ahead and leave the link to my campaign in the description box below. I really hope you'll check it out. All right, let's get started. Alright, so this recipe is broken up into 3 phases: a water phase, a surfactant phase, and then a pH adjusting thickening phase. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and prepare the water. Now I wanted to make sure that this Yoni cleansing gel stayed very soothing to the skin. So we're going to be doing an herbal infusion of chamomile. Last time I made a Yoni cleansing gel, we used hydrosols to impart some of those botanical properties. This time we're going to be using an infusion. So we're basically making a chamomile tea. I got these whole chamomile flowers from Nature's Garden, and this little tea, I guess diffuser, I picked up from a local tea shop in my area, although I'm pretty sure you can probably get these online. So I'm just going to fill my little tea diffuser, and that's about it. I'm just going to fill it to about halfway. It has a little lid on it, so I'm going to place the lid on top, remove this. I'm going to go ahead and put some hot water in here, and then we're going to go ahead and allow the tea to steep for about 5 minutes until we get a nice infusion. I'll bring you right back when this is ready for the next step. Alright, so our infusion is done. It looks like we got a nice kind of yellow chamomile flower look going on, and that's kind of what you're going for. You just want to make sure you have a good infusion. I'm going to go ahead and give you a close-up visual of this so you can see the color that you're going for. And then the next thing you're going to do is just weigh off the amount of tea that we're using for this recipe. So I have more than I need here. All I'm going to do is go ahead and weigh off what I need for this recipe. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and add in the rest of the water phase ingredients. The next thing we're going to be adding is some rose water. Now roses in general are known for their tightening and toning properties, and this rose water from Brambleberry is actually the best smelling rose water I've ever purchased. It smells just like fresh roses, and this is going to impart a beautiful botanical smell naturally to the Yoni cleansing gel. Of course, I would never add any essential oils or fragrance oil to a Yoni cleansing gel, so we're just using some natural rose water to give it a beautiful smell, and this mixed in with the chamomile infusion gives it a very fresh, floral, and botanical smell. But it's also subtle. It's not overpowering at all. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is add in some Calendula Extract. Now Calendula is known for its soothing, anti-inflammatory properties, so in combination with the chamomile, this is going to go very nice. So we're using an extract of Calendula. I'm going to give this a little stir before we move on. And then the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and check the temperature and make sure we're cool enough to add our preservative at this stage. So we are down to about 100 degrees, perfectly safe to go ahead and add in our preservative. And today I'm using some liquid Germall Plus because it's great for water-based type recipes and it works in a broad spectrum of pHs. So we're going to go ahead and add in our preservative. Give this a good stir. Make sure everything's nice and combined. All right. And then the next phase of this recipe is to go ahead and add in the surfactants. So the surfactants in this recipe act as the cleansing and bubbling agent to the formula. So they are very gentle, they're plant-based, and this is going to help keep your pH on the lower side. So again, in my first Yoni cleansing gel video, we talked all about why pH is super important for this type of cleansing gel. And this is why we're choosing to do a surfactant-based cleansing gel instead of a cold processed soap. Because in this type of formula, you can get the pH down to about a 4.5 or to a 5.5 with no issues. So we're going to go ahead and use our first surfactant, and we're using Cocamidopropyl Betaine. This is probably my favorite liquid surfactant. It has really nice foam and bubbles, but it's so gentle, and it goes with any other surfactant because it's amphoteric. So we're going to go ahead and add in the surfactant Coco Betaine into the water phase. And then the next surfactant we're using is some Capryl Glucoside. Now the reason I'm using this surfactant is because it's got great solubilizing properties. It really does help to boost foam and lather. It's a great secondary surfactant, and it also is very gentle and mild. And then the last surfactant we are using is one called Foaming Apples, and it is made using apples. And the reason I'm using foaming apple is because, again, it's super gentle and it's going to help keep that pH down. And I like to add a combination of surfactants to my cleansing gels because it does help to boost foam and lather. Now, you don't have to use foaming apple. You can just use the Coco Betaine and the Glucoside, but I like to add these three in combination. You could even just use all Coco Betaine. You don't have to add any other surfactant. This is just a personal preference on formula. Okay, so now that my surfactants are all added in, we have to stir very gently so we don't kick up bubbles. Again, this is the cleansing agent part of the recipe. This is what's going to draw any type of dirt, impurities, and excess oils off your skin and down the drain, but in a very gentle way. So I'm just giving this a gentle stir so I don't kick up too many bubbles. And then we're gonna go ahead and move into the first part of the thickening phase, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and add in the first ingredient that's going to sort of help thicken this up. Although we're not using it as the primary thickener, what we're using this next ingredient for is its skin conditioning properties. So in my last Yoni gel cleanser, I did not use this ingredient, and I really do love that formula. because it's just so simple and pure. However, I did feel like it needed maybe a little bit more like slip, glide, and conditioning properties to it. So for that reason, we're going to be adding some Cationic Guar Gum to this recipe. Now, Cationic Guar Gum in surfactant-based recipes like this can act as a thickener and also usually like a hair type conditioner. It adds like a refatting agent to your surfactant-based shower gels, shampoos, and today we're using it in our Yoni cleansing gel. So I've got my Cationic Guar Gum already weighed off in this little container. And then what we're going to do is first I'm going to add just a tiny pinch of pink mica. Now you guys ask me this a lot about adding micas to shower gels. This is one way to do it. Now I'm just using a little bit. We really don't need a lot, and plus you don't need a lot of color, and you don't want to put a lot in a cleanser like this. So then we're going to go ahead and disperse the guar gum and the mica in some glycerin. The glycerin is also acting as a humectant, so it's going to help to draw moisture to the skin, but it's also going to help disperse the guar gum and the mica. You definitely don't want to add the guar gum straight to the formula because it won't thicken anything up that way, and it won't disperse properly. So this is the way to do it. And then all I'm going to do is just give this a really good mix. I'm going to get that very, very well mixed and dispersed in. So we just want to make sure we're adding the guar gum in with no clumps and very well evenly distributed. But we're getting a nice kind of rosy pink color. And it does start to thicken up even just in the glycerin, so you do kind of want to make sure you're working a little quickly here. And then all I'm going to do now is just go ahead and add it into my surfactants. I'm going to try to get as much as I can off using my spatula here. Okay. All right, and now I'm just going to go ahead and slowly, carefully stir in my guar gum and glycerin mixture until we are well combined. Now this formula is not going to be completely transparent because we are using a little bit of pink mica. So it's going to give it a little bit of a pink shimmer to it, which I think goes nice with that rose fragrance that we're getting from the rose water. All right, and then the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to let this hydrate. We're going to let the guar gum hydrate and thicken up this formula. But like I said, you're going to see when I bring you back that this formula does not get all the way thick with the guar gum. We're using it primarily for its skin conditioning and like refatting properties. But I'll bring you back in about a half an hour or so to show you what the consistency looks like, and then we'll do some pH adjusting. All right, so this has been sitting now for about 30 minutes, and I just want to show you that it has thickened up a little bit with that guar gum, but not by much, you see. It gives it a little viscosity, but we're not using enough in this formula to really act as the primary thickener. We're just using it as a skin conditioner and a refatting agent to give this a nice slip and glide and conditioning feeling. Okay, so next, before we do anything else, we're going to go ahead and check the pH. So as discussed in my first Yoni cleansing gel video, pH is extremely important. You don't want the pH to be too high because it can really irritate intimate and sensitive parts of the body and throw off your natural pH. So we're looking for between a 4.5 and a 5.5. And I know I'm too high right now, but I'm going to go ahead and just check this pH. So we're sitting at right around a 6.7. So what we're going to do is go ahead and adjust this pH before we finish the thickening of this formula. We're going to do that by just adding in a little bit of citric acid. And I just mean the tiniest bit. So I'll show you what that looks like. We're going to start by adding about that much citric acid, giving it a stir, dissolving it, and then we're going to check again. And if we need to add more citric acid, we will, but you don't want to go too low because that can also cause skin issues. You just want it right in the 4.5 to 5.5 range. So it's important to add your citric acid really slow at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and check the pH, and I'll bring you back when we get this exactly where we want it. Okay, so the pH is right where I want it. It's at a 5, and so we're going to go ahead and stop adjusting the pH here. And then the last thing to do is to go ahead and bring this viscosity up to a thicker consistency. You could leave it just like this if you don't want to add any thickeners to this, but I like my cleansing gels to be a little thicker so they don't slip right out of your hand and through the cracks of your fingers. So I'll bring you right back when we're ready to do that. All right, so what we're going to do to thicken this up is add a little bit of Glucose D. Glucose D is a thickener used for surfactant-based formulas like this one, and it's a very effective thickener. I like it a lot. It's one of my go-tos for this type of formula just because a little bit goes a long way. And I had it sitting in a warm water bath because you definitely want to go ahead and put it in a warm water bath before you use it, because the viscosity is so thick that it's hard to incorporate it in to your product without kicking up a lot of bubbles. This just makes it disperse a little bit easier. So you just add in a little bit at a time until you get your desired viscosity, and you add in basically as much as you like. It does have usage rates on it though, so just make sure you're not going above the usage rates. So I can already tell this formula is thickening up just with the little bit that I added. I'm going to give that a minute to thicken up, and if I need to adjust any more, I'll add a little bit more. I'll bring you back when it is to the viscosity that I like. Okay, so I've added a few more rounds of Glucose D and I've gotten it up to the viscosity that I like. I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like. So I just think that's the perfect kind of gel-like consistency. It's not too thick that it's hard to disperse into your hands, but it's not too thin that it's going to fall through your hands. So the last thing we're going to do is go ahead and bottle this up, and then I'll show you the lather demo. Now I'm just pouring this into a Boston round, and then any extra into a little squeezy bottle. And it smells lovely. It has a very subtle, beautiful botanical, but also the chamomile tea balances out that rose, and it just kind of smells. Definitely get those top notes of the rose, but also kind of that flowery chamomile smell as well mixed with it. It's a nice combination. Okay, so I do have a bit extra here. I'm just pouring into this squeezy bottle. And there they are, all bottled up, looking gorgeous. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you the lather on this. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and scrape a little bit out of my beaker here. Wet my hands. Now, right away, this has an excellent skin feel. It's got a really, really nice slip to it and glide. Actually, I think this would probably make a pretty good shaving soap as well, or just like a shaving. The lather on it is just very, very silky smooth. Be great for shaving. It feels fantastic, and this is exactly what I was going for when I reformulated or tweaked the first one that I shared with you several months back. I just felt like it needed a little bit more of that soft, silky, and refatting and conditioning feeling to it, and this is absolutely gorgeous. This is the best Yoni gel I think I've ever used or ever formulated, so I'm very, very pleased with it. It's very lovely. And look at those cute little iridescent bubbles. It feels fantastic. Well, everybody, that concludes today's video. I really hope you liked it. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up. I hope I inspired you. I hope you learned something new. Don't forget to leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. All right, catch you on the next video. Bye, everyone. Keep shining.